Hi, I'm Caitlin and I read a lot. Today I'm coming to you with my most favorite reads of 2019. I don't have all of the books physically with me at the moment because I borrowed a lot of these books from the library, and I have yet to obtain them, but I do love them all very, very much. So the first book, I'm going in order of when I read them, so like chronologically, and none of these books are in any particular order for like 1 to 9, which were my favorites, but I will give my rating out of 5 and you know why I liked it and what it's about. So let's begin. I'm really excited. I love books, clearly. So the first book I have to talk about today is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. Renegades is actually more of it's a sci-fi dystopia book. Basically, Renegades takes place in the future and we follow two main characters, Nova and Adrian, and Nova is actually a kind of double agent in this, and she comes from the kind of the enemies or the villain side, who are the anarchists. And then on the flip side, Adrian, who is our other main character, he comes from the renegade side. He's actually the son of two of the original members of the Renegades, and the OG Renegades are the people who defeated the OG anarchists. And Nova herself, as I mentioned, is like a double agent, so she decides that she's going to go into the Renegades headquarters and become a renegade in order to learn their secrets and thwart them from within and take it down from there. And this was literally the first book I read in 2019, and let me tell you that like I definitely like set the bar really high for the books that I wanted to be reading, because this was so good. The writing, because I've read Marissa Meyer's work before, the writing on this was like astounding and visual. I think I actually prefer the writing in this to the way the Lunar Chronicles is written. I really enjoyed it. The characters in this are so well written, and actually the world of this of the Renegades is so amazing, because the powers that these superheroes have, I don't know if I mentioned that they are superheroes, but are so unique. And I know like the typical powers you see in fantasy and like sci-fi are like elements or telepathy and telekinesis, and while those are amazing powers in of itself, there are so many other ones in Renegades that are so unique that I don't see very often. Like for example, Nova, she has the power to put people to sleep, as well as she herself doesn't sleep ever. Another plot point on this is Adrian is leading a double life. It's very Hannah Montana, but as I mentioned, he is a renegade, so he is that kind of policeman, like, and also he is like a kind of vigilante sort of superhero called the Sentinel, because he doesn't really agree with so much with the way that renegades like their law, and he doesn't necessarily agree with it, so he's taken it upon himself to transform himself into a vigilante and go about saving the world in the way that he thinks is best, which is really cool, but also like kind of problematic. I rated this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I technically do own, but I've lended it out to a friend because I enjoyed it so much. And this book is called What If It's Us by, is it by Becky? Yeah, by Becky Albertali and Adam Silvera. This book is an LGBTQ plus contemporary, and it is so heartwarming. It follows two main characters, two boys named Arthur and Ben, and they meet in a post office where Ben is actually going to ship off his ex-boyfriend's things back to him because he's just gone through a long-term breakup. And Arthur is just interning in New York City at the moment, So they meet by chance and they hit it off, and then they have to part ways eventually at the post office, and then the story is just about them trying to find each other again, and then trying to work out how to be together. And it's such a pure, beautiful love story, and it's not like other love stories. It's very much not cliche. I don't want to say that because some people might think it's cliche, but it feels to me quite realistic. And like the relationships, like I know that contemporaries obviously focused a lot on the two main characters, but the relationships and friendships with all the other people in these two people's lives is also so pure and so beautiful, especially the friendship between Ben and Dylan, his best friend. I'm pretty sure his name is Dylan. And it just makes me feel all gooey and happy on the inside. So yeah, I rated this one a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, but it is All the Crooked Saints by Maggie Stiefvater. I don't have this book again. I borrowed this one from the library though. As like favorite books go, this is actually one of my new all-time favorite books. Like I've added it to like my master list, and if that doesn't say something about this book, then I don't know what will. This book though, but the way to explain it is just so, it's really hard to explain the premise of it, and I think it's just best to go into them kind of blind. Maggie Stiefvater's writing is so beautiful and whimsical, and it's like she's breathing magic like onto the page. Like I can't even explain it. Like, and it is about miracles and about finding miracles both within yourself and within other people. It's just one of those things where it's so hard to explain, but when you read it, you get it. Okay, this book covered the ideas of miracles and saints in a way I have never seen them before. Right from the beginning, I was captivated by her words and the metaphors, and by the way she had carved this story out. Hearing about each of the pilgrims, their miracles, and their stories was so emotional, and it even brought me to tears. Another thing I really enjoyed was the romance between Beatrice and Pete. It was so wholesome and sweet. While the romance isn't a focal point in the story, it is such a lovely little subplot that was like carefully being woven together in the background. If you want to know more about it like plot-wise, I do recommend reading the actual thing on Goodreads, but my personal recommendation is that you just read it, just go into it blind. Which is a bit risky, but it is kind of a fantasy, magic realism, contemporary sort of feel. Like it feels like a contemporary the way that it's written, but it also has really beautiful magical elements. The next book on my list is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. And this book was the first book actually I have ever read that was written in verse. If you don't know what written in verse means, it basically means that it's told in poetry, and because it was told in poetry, it was so easy to read, and as a lover of poetry obviously, I really took a great appreciation in that, and I went from like smiling to crying to full-on sobbing literally in the span of like 10 or so pages. Like this book really gripped me, and it held on tight, and it didn't let me go until I finished it, and then even then it still held such an important impact on me. This book follows a young girl named Xiomara. She's basically an aspiring poet, but the thing is her parents, her mother is quite strict and very Catholic as well, like Christian Catholic, and that plays a big part in the story because Xiomara isn't feeling that connection to God, and that's also affecting her relationship with her mother because she doesn't see God the way that her mother sees it. I really felt for Xiomara in this a lot because I related to her in so many ways. You know, she was like really trying to find herself. she was a poet as well, and there was all that doubt about being a poet and about her own writing and not wanting to share it, but also that feeling of writing all of it down because she didn't know how else to be heard. And just about the actual book and the plot line of this, Xiomara is, trying to find herself. As I mentioned, she has a twin brother who is also trying to find himself, and there's some LGBTQ representation through there as well. And she's also falling in love for the first time, which is really beautiful to see all the time. And it's also her trying to navigate her way through that and growing up as a woman and dealing with people who objectify women as well. And I gave that another 5 out of 5 stars. The next book is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. It is the first book in the Arc of Scythe series. The world that Neal Shusterman creates in this book is so amazing. Basically, in this world, all illness, sickness, disease, hunger, war, misery, all that gone. Humans have found a way to evolve, and also they've learned how to fix it all, basically. The only thing that they haven't, actually no, even then they have conquered death. That is what the selling point was for this book. And the only thing that they haven't been able to control is overpopulation. So what this world has done is, actually technically it's Earth, but what Earth has done and what these people have done is they've created scythes, and these people are basically tasked with the job to cull the population little by little in order to keep it under control. Basically, these people are in charge of killing people in order to control the overpopulation. We follow Citra and Rowan, and these two people have been chosen to be apprentices to be another Scythe, and neither of them want it. But when you're a Scythe, your family gets immediate immunity for as long as you live, which is practically forever. And in this world, the thing everyone wants the most is immunity, because now that you've conquered death, no one wants to die. That's the main premise of the book. I don't want to give away too much because this is one of those books that is just if you know too much, then it takes away from that excitement of finding out more. I gave that one a 5 out of 5. The next book is a book by a YouTuber, and it is Again But Better by Christine Riccio. And you may know her from YouTube as Pollen Bananas Books. I'll leave her channel below. She is ridiculously funny, and her videos are so fun to watch. Again But Better is basically a college contemporary book, and the way that Christine has been pitching it and the way that she's been explaining it to people is such an accurate way of saying it. It's basically everything good about a contemporary I feel like she was able to convey in this book, and it was a bit cliche at times, which is why I kind of deducted a little bit by it felt very no one would ever actually do that in real life. But it was really, really sweet. It was such a heartwarming book, and as I said, it's set in college, and this main character Shane is going to study abroad, and she's in London, and London is beautiful. I can't wait to visit there one day. And so she's falling in love for the first time, but at one point she gets the chance to do college again, but better. What you do with that interpretation is up to you. I had so much fun with it. If you've watched Christine's videos and you've seen her personality and the way that she talks and her humor, you can really see it in the book, and I think that's what makes the book so good, because I love Christine watching her as a YouTuber, so seeing that personality translated into book form was just really enjoyable. So I gave that one a 4.5 out of 5. I feel like I can't go through any video without having to change my camera. And now we are coming up to my last book of today. The book I am talking about is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey Mcquiston. This book is a love story. You don't need to know much else about that. It's just sprinkle in the fact that one of them is a prince and then the other one is the son of the first female president of the United States. You know, just normal things, you know, just normal things. But this book is an LGBTQ contemporary. As I mentioned, I've read quite a few of those this year. I really love this book for it wasn't an LGBTQ book. Like, their sexuality, it played obviously a part because, you know, that's their sexuality. But like, it was a book about love and overcoming the obstacles in order to be in love. And as I mentioned, the two main characters, Prince Henry of Wales and Alex Claremont Diaz, who is the first son of the United States. So he's the son of the president. And in this book, it actually takes place obviously in on Earth, but it's on an alternate timeline where it's set after, I think it's set in 2016, so I don't know my politics very well, but after Obama, like President Barack Obama, Alex's mom was elected as president, not Trump. So Alex and Henry have never really seen eye to eye, and something happens at a very public event, and I'll just put it here. And heads of family and state and other handlers, so like the handlers of Henry and the handlers of Alex, they create a plan to stage these two as friends or not the rivals that they appear to be, because, you know, they've messed up big time at a very public event, and now the international relationships between Britain and America are they're a bit strenuous, you know. They're gonna have to pretend to be friends, and eventually, you know, after friends they become a little bit something more, and it's just really, I really enjoyed this book. I will mention though that like this book gets a little bit not safe for work. Just putting it out there if you're a young reader. And as these two are trying to figure out what to do with their secret romance, they're also trying to figure out like what do they want to do in the future. Like, is what they have right now a forever thing or is it a now thing? I really love these books, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun filming it because, as always, I love talking about books that I love, and I hope that you guys are enjoying them. So, yeah. What was your favorite book of this year, and how many books did you read? If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you comment down below. I will leave my links, like my Instagram link and my Goodreads link if you care, and all the links to the books that I mentioned down below. Subscribe and click the bell icon so that you can get a notification every time I post a new video. And apart from that, I hope you guys have a good day. It's currently evening for me, but to whatever time you are watching this, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, that's the one, and goodbye.